Hello everybody, it's your boy N here. I'm coming at you guys with another YouTube video. So, because of instant cast now being added to Viessa, we kind of go back to Absolute Zero because they fundamentally fixed the problem with Viessa's Absolute Zero build in the first place. If you don't know about the Absolute Zero setup, or you don't know about how to turn on instant cast, you just go to your gameplay tab over here, and then you just go down to control method, and instant cast mode, you make sure to turn this bad boy on to have the best experience. So now that that's out of the way, let's get right on into the build for Viessa. So starting off, we are going to be, of course, using Absolute Zero for our red module. Next up, we will be using mid-air maneuvering for our grappling module because we like to take advantage of our movement with Viessa specifically. Now, with Viessa, we kind of go back to basics with her. All of this is singular, of course, and with Viessa, we're just going to go into a ridiculous damage and ridiculous cooldown and DPS. Starting off, let's go with Viessa's cooldown. So for cooldown on Viessa, what the first thing we would do is we would go with MP conversion, nimble fingers, and then we are going to go with focus on chill and focus on singular right off the bat. Now with Viessa, you only need 3 out of the 4 crit rate mods to basically get yourself all the way up to max. So with Viessa, in this specific instance, we will only be using insight, concentration, and emergency measures. So we're going to go with just these 3 to get the rate all the way to the max. And now we've got space for more quality of life and more DPS. So this is where we are going to add duration in. Now, why duration? Specifically for this mode, at least, you have mobs that will repeat spawn in the same place. So having higher duration means that you would ideally want to have your hurricanes there so you can just nuke them the moment they spawn. So that's why we're going with that. Just to wrap it all up, we're going to slap 2 range mods on to Viessa, and then that is going to be the build basically complete. Now, for the trigger mod on here, we are going to go with Power Beyond. Power Beyond works with Viessa's 2 and her 4. When you put her 4 down, this can drag mobs into the Hurricane. So this is going to be ideal for your DPS with Viessa. So that's what I'm going with. Next up, let's have a look at the other parts of this build with Viessa as well. So before we have a look at the Reactor though, let's quickly slot the weapon in. And for the weapon, I'm going to be going with the Hypernova. Now, I like to use the Hypernova because of its mobbing capability, but I'll come back to that shortly. Next up, for the Reactor, you're going to want to go with a chill singular Reactor, and you're going to want to go with cooldown as an essential and crit damage as an essential. You can't basically spin out of the Reactor with this one. These are the stats you need, and they are definitely the essential stats, so make sure you're grabbing this Reactor. Next up, for the external components, you are going to want to go with, if I can spell properly, 2 pieces of Hunter for Viessa, and then you are also going to want to go with 2 pieces of Ascending Armory. This is going to give you a little bit of extra cost reduction and also give you some cooldown. Now, the ideal stats you are going to want on here is going to be max HP, MP recovery out of combat, max MP, MP recovery in combat, MP recovery modifier or defense and electric resistance. Max shield, toxic resistance, or shield recovery modifier would also be good too. Now, you're going to want max HP and defense across every single one of these cores. That's basically going to be the best for your survivability with this specific setup. So that's your external components done. Next up, let's have a look at the Arche tuning tree for Viessa. So with the Arche tuning tree with this character, it's going to be slightly unconventional. So let's start off by going all the way across and all the way down, and then we're going to go here just up to the range there. Next, we're going to go all the way up to the cooldown with Viessa, and because we don't really need the rate here, we're going to go around it, and we're going to pick the duration up and also go into the crit damage. We've got 6 nodes left, so we're going to go all the way up here. Then we're going to grab Arche concentration for just ridiculous crit damage buffs with Viessa, which will constantly refresh, so you're never going to lose your big DPS increase. Then you've got one final node, so we're just going to slap it over there. That's more than good enough for the tree with Viessa. Ideally, we're going to get that nice little kick of duration, which is going to help our Hurricane last a little touch longer. So with Viessa's weapon setup, this is what we go with. So I use the Hypernova with a weapon attack core, 2 chill cores, 1 crit rate and 1 crit damage core. I've got melee weapon attack, crit rate, crit damage and chill on this weapon as well for the substats. Now these swords have been buffed to hell and back, and this is what I like to use with this sword. This is going to be a DPS build or a stat / DPS build. This is going to allow you to do more crits or just more damage. This is going to allow you to have more movement with Viessa, which does scale all the way up. So you're just going to be faster whenever you use your special ability. And given we're holding this the entire time, it's going to be a nice touch. Now, if you don't have the Hypernova, you could use anything that's a stat stick. You could use a secret garden with a 2 sprint cores and 1 grapple core. That would also work out nicely. You could use a peacemaker, so on and so forth. But honestly, I would recommend a sword, and I would honestly recommend the Hypernova. If you wanted to use the shadow, which would be my second suggestion, this is what I've got going on my shadow. The same thing, toxic, 2 damage ones and 1 chance one. Chance, toxic damage, and then the crit rate on there is not meant to be there. Just go with another stat like, I don't know, you know, toxic or something like that. I've already got toxic on there. Yeah, just go with a different stat that's not crit, of course. That's pretty much it. I just currently don't have any more Legos left, sadly. But for the build on here, this is what you would also go with as well. So this will also work as a nice stat stick. You can use the unique ability to jump around with this as well, but I personally do prefer the Hypernova's ability. So we're going to get rid of this, but that's your second option. Next up, let's have a quick look at the inversions. With the inversions, we're going to go with the skill cost inversion off the bat. Then we're going to go with the health inversion. And then we're also going to go with the Hypernova inversion because I am using the Hypernova, of course. So that's going to pretty much wrap that up with Viessa. Now, with Viessa as well, let's quickly have a look at Ancestor Mod and how that would kind of change the build and how it's changed what I'm running. Now, with this specifically, you are going to 100% want crit damage. So the Ancestor Mod that I would go with is a cooldown crit damage Ancestor Mod, something like this right over here. Now, with this setup, or with a Ancestor Mod with cooldown, that allows you to remove the focus on modules. It also allows you to remove Hunter from your external components, which is a big change as well. So I've changed from Hunter over to Slayer. So Slayer set will also give me the same kick. Again, with that as well, we can get cooldown off there, and we can put even more damage on the tree. Again, with this, because the cooldown scales so high and so fast and everything like that, it basically allows you to semi-shift it up even more. Now, with this, I would still keep extension and expansion, but what I would instead end up doing is dropping focus on chill, and I would just slap MP collector in there, so now I can absolutely spam the daylights out of my abilities with Viessa, and it doesn't really make anything of a difference. So this is what I would run if I had cooldown on an Ancestor as well. Crit damage is also going to be very good for your damage. Chill would be good for your damage, but honestly, cooldown crit damage would be the essentials with Viessa, and I would say that chill is good. You don't really need rate, but if you do get it, you can replace insight with this build as well. So there you go. Something like that would be a nice kick, and the Viessa Ancestor definitely does change the build quite a fair bit with this Descendant. So now that we've got the Ancestor mods covered, let's have a quick look at some Viessa gameplay. Now, with the gameplay, I'll show you some Breach Surge gameplay because I love Breach Surge. For some reason, my PC decided this would be a good time when I started recording and doing these runs to absolutely start having an aneurysm on me, so forgive me if the gameplay is kind of cooked. So you can see here, I go in with instant cast and I start using my first and my second ability. Once I see mobs in a direction that I know I'm not going to go, I'll basically just throw the Hypernova right where the mobs are. So my PC is going to keep doing these random freezes, so I hope it's not too bad. I'm sorry about that, guys. I tried everything to get rid of it. I changed my settings, I reset everything, I refreshed the game, all of that, and it just didn't bloody do anything, so I'm sorry about that. But you can see here, the sword, or the Hypernova, is doing so much DPS on its own, it's capable of wiping mobs out. With Viessa, I'll put my 4 down, and then I'll turn away, and I'll use my 3 on different mobs, I'll use my 1 on different mobs. You basically just use all of her abilities in a I'm going to spam the daylights out of this style scenario. And it works really well, especially with this over here with the swords. You can, oh sorry, not with the swords, with the abilities. On the bike, you can fly all the way over and use the 4th ability, drop a hurricane immediately into the center of the circle, and it just ends up working out very, very well. You can see over there, again, a bunch of mobs. I don't even need to worry about it. I'll just throw the sword and the sword will finish them off. They get sucked in, GG's, they are not surviving. That's pretty much the truth. This is just a really, really cool way to play Viessa, and this is where we would return to Absolute Zero, because returning to Absolute Zero fixes everything, right? We love Absolute Zero. We actually do love Absolute Zero now because they've actually fixed it, to be fair. But you can just see this in general, the sword just pile driving and deleting everything. I do like to still look back. I trust the sword, but at the same time, I don't want to leave a mob behind because then it will end up making my run a little bit slower. Pug Crydy, thank you so much for the follow. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much. Okay, back to the main attention. You can see the sword just doing its own bits. Your 4th ability is basically a miniature version of the sword, and then honestly you just kind of go all in. T-Morse, thank you, or T1 Morse, thank you so much for the follow as well. I appreciate you. Welcome in, guys. So yeah, this is kind of what Absolute Zero Viessa does now. Instant cast was basically the fix, so that's where you kind of end up. So with this, again, this is an example of where I was talking about with the mobs. With the elites as well, you basically just drop a hurricane next to them and it's a done deal. If they somehow move out of it, your 1st ability or your 3rd ability or even the sword will take care of it. As you see, this elite or this boss here cannot even withstand Viessa's 1 or a 3. I literally just ended up using 1 and 3 a few times, and then the hurricane passively just killed it. I don't know, man. It seems like Viessa is doing something called suffering from success. You can see here, the main thing you want to do is just take out the elites, and then the rest of the mobs do get sucked in by the sword. Sword does DPS over time. You basically just go in with your abilities, pick out the mobs you want, keep throwing your abilities into the center of the circle and calling it a day. Even the sword into the center of there. Chef's kiss. Because it just does all the DPS you need, and on the final explosion as well, it absolutely pile drives and nukes the daylights out of everything you see. I was tweaking so much I didn't even realize that the objective changed behind me for 5 seconds. And this is an example of where the duration comes in really, really handy. So you can see here, I'm slapping my hurricanes down, and even though I'm already killing mobs and stuff like that, the hurricanes are still going, and when the new mobs spawn in after they've already died, they're already still dying to the hurricane because the hurricane's still active. So any place where you've got to do the biometrics, I'll just hold a point now with Viessa. She's one of the best options in this game. She's so damn strong, and all my homies love Viessa. And I think, honestly, breach tracking with her is fun, and this build works here, so of course it works basically everywhere else in the game. If you want to use this in Purge, you'll have fun with it, so on and so forth. But honestly, instant casting was the answer to Viessa. And as far as the build goes as well, this is just a nice 2-in-1. And it's truly what you would want to be seeing with this character. You can see sword pile driving, elites getting melted. She's just breezing through all the content, which is exactly what you want. She's definitely a fun Descendant, makes you think on your toes and all of that sort of stuff. And honestly, with the sword as well, probably one of my favorite Descendants to play, especially with just how fluid the movement is. Thank God they buffed the sword's DPS, and thank God they buffed the sword speed, because the swords are even worth it now. So you can tell that they're making some good choices. Now, even with this, the rush to the cave bit with Viessa, again, most people hop on the bikes and leave it. With Viessa, she's fast enough to just run with her too, and this is where it goes all nice in. Slap the sword down, slap your abilities down, slap that down, and then literally just drop a hurricane. Power Beyond activates, slap these 3 guys in front of it. Just joining in. Welcome to the team, Brisk Crown. And just slap the sword over there, and like I said, I have trust in the sword, so I start running. This is where I'd pull the bike out as well, sorry. Yeah, this is where I pull the bike out and just go all in. I forgot that the boss spawns there, but even here, the sword is doing good chunks of damage. Once it does come to the a fourth ability though, this boss get absolutely wiped out by that. Even the fact that the two final mobs, or two mobs he was attached to over there, were not a problem. You see there, the one hurricane expired and just absolutely nuked the daylights out of this one. So yeah, reach tracking Viessa, and well, this definitely fixed absolute zero, so this is what you want with Viessa. But anyways guys, that's been today's video, and I hope you have enjoyed. If you did, please do smash that like button. All my homies love instant casting because it's given Viessa such a fresh breath of life. But yeah, that's pretty much everything. Please do smash that like button, and if you are new here, please do consider subscribing. I make plenty of videos on the first Descendant, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace!